You have been told your whole life that buying a home is the smartest financial decision you will ever make. Your parents said it. Your bank said it. Every real estate agent you have ever met said it. The American dream is built around it. The idea that owning a home means you have made it, that you are building equity, that you are being responsible, that you're finally doing something right. But there's one document almost nobody understands before they sign the mortgage. It is called an amortization schedule. And once you understand it, buying a home starts to look a lot different.
Oh.
Here's what nobody said. With first years of a standard 30-year mortgage, a huge portion of every payment you make goes directly to the bank. Not to you, not to your equity, not to your future, to interest, to the cost of borrowing money, to the bank's profit. And the home you live in, the one that you mow the lawn of, fix the roof of, pay property taxes on, insure, maintain, and lie awake worrying about may not behave like the asset you were told it was. Not at first, not for a very long time. This does not mean buying a home is always bad. It means you need to understand what you're actually buying before you call it an investment. Let's start from the beginning. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket. A liability is something that puts money out of your pocket. This definition comes from Robert Kiyoski's Rich Dad Poor Dad and is one of the most controversial ideas in personal finance because it directly challenges what most people believe about home ownership. By this definition, your primary residence often behaves more like a liability than an asset. Every single month, it takes money out of your pocket. Mortgage payment, property taxes, homeowner's insurance, maintenance, repairs, higher utilities because you own more space. All of it flows out. None of it flows in. Now you might say, but my home is gaining value. The market goes up. I'm building equity. And that can be true sometimes. In some markets, over some periods of time, but before you call your home an investment, you need to understand what is actually happening inside your mortgage, because this is where most people have never been taken. Amortization sounds complicated. It is not. Think of every mortgage payment as money being split into two buckets. The first bucket is called principal. That is the part of your payment that actually pays down your loan. That is the part that slowly makes more of your home yours. The second bucket is called interest. That is the fee you pay the bank for borrowing money. That part does not build your ownership. It does not lower your loan balance. It does not make more of your house yours. It is simply the cost of using the bank's money. Now, here is the part that people miss. At the beginning of a mortgage, the interest bucket is huge. The principal bucket is tiny. So, when you send the bank your mortgage payment, it feels like you're buying more of your house. But in the early years, most of the payment is really just paying the bank for the loan. Same payment, different destination. And that difference is everything. Imagine you buy a home for $300,000. You put 10% down, which is $30,000. You borrow $270,000 from the bank at a 7% interest rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage. Your monthly payment is about $1,800. Over 30 years, you will make 360 payments of about $1,800. That is about $647,000 total. You borrowed $270,000. You will pay back $647,000. The difference is about $377,000. That is the interest. That is the cost of borrowing. That is the bank's profit from your home purchase. You bought a 300,000 home, but by the time it is fully yours, you may have paid over 600,000 for it. This is the amortization in plain English. You make the same payment every month, but the split inside that payment changes over time. At the beginning, most of the payment goes to interest. Later, more goes to principal. Think of it as like a seesaw. At the start of the mortgage, the bank side is heavy. Interest gets most of the payment. Your equity gets the leftovers. But slowly, over many years, the seesaw shifts. The interest side gets smaller. The principal side gets bigger. The problem is that this shift takes a long time. A very long time. In a month of your mortgage, your 1800 payment breaks down like this. About 1600 goes to interest, about 200 goes to principal. The bank collects about 1600, you build about 200 in equity. That means in your first month, you sent almost $1,800 to the bank, and only about $200 actually helped you own more of your house. The rest was the cost of borrowing. By month 12, after one full year of payments, you paid about $22,000 to the bank. Of that, about $1,900 went to interest. Only about $3,000 went to principal. You have been in your home for a full year, and you have only owned about 3,000 more of it than the day you moved in. That is the part most people miss. You paid about $22,000 that year, but your loan only dropped about $3,000. So, when people say, I'm tired of renting because rent is throwing money away, they need to understand this. In the early years of a mortgage, a huge part of your payment is also money that does not come back to you. It is not rent. It can behave like rent paid to the bank. This is not a bug in the system, it is the design. Amortization is structured so the bank collects much of its interest in the early years of the loan. And that matters because many people do not stay in the same home for 30 years. They move, they refinance, they upgrade, they start over, which means they often spend years mostly paying interest, build less equity than they expected, sell the home, pay closing costs, and begin the process again with a new mortgage. The bank does not need the home price to go up to win. The bank wins because the loan is designed to pay the bank first. Now let's talk about the full cost of ownership. Because the mortgage payment is only one part of owning what a home actually costs. On a $300,000 home, property taxes might be around $3,600 per year. That is about $300 per month. Homeowners insurance might be around $1,200 per year, and that is about $100 per month. Maintenance and repairs can easily average about 1% of the home's value per year. On a $300,000 home, that is about $3,000 per year, another $250 per month. Now add it up. Your $1,800 mortgage payment plus $300 in property taxes plus $100 in insurance plus $250 in maintenance. Your true monthly cost is not about $1,800. It is about $2,500. That still does not include the $30,000 down payment you made on day one. That $30,000 did not disappear, but it did get locked into the house. And money locked into a house is money you cannot easily use somewhere else. If that $30,000 had been invested in a broad index fund, average 8% annually, over 30 years, it could grow to be about $300,000. This is called opportunity cost. An opportunity cost is the cost that nobody puts on the brochure. It is the invisible price of choosing one path over another. When you put money into a down payment, you're not just paying for a house. You're also giving up what that money could have done somewhere else. So is buying a home always wrong? No, absolutely not. Real estate can be a powerful wealth builder, but not for the reason most people think, and not in the way most people do it. Buying a home can make sense when you plan to stay for a long time. It can make sense when your monthly payment is actually affordable. It can make sense when the price of buying is reasonable compared to renting. It can make sense when you understand the full cost and still choose the stability, space, and control that home ownership gives you. But it becomes dangerous when you buy because someone told you renting is stupid. It becomes dangerous when you stretch the payment because the bank approved you. It becomes dangerous when you ignore taxes, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. It becomes dangerous when you assume the house will automatically make you rich. Because a house is not automatically a good investment just because it has a front door and a mortgage. A house can build wealth, but it can also quietly drain you. Now, here's where real estate becomes genuinely powerful, and that is the part most people confuse with their primary home. Rental property, not the house you live in, rental property. When someone else pays your mortgage, the dynamic changes completely. A rental property that generates more income than it costs every month is by definition an asset. It puts money into your pocket. The tenant helps build your equity. The bank is still getting paid, but someone else is helping pay them for you. That is a different game. That is how real estate can become a wealth building machine, not by living in the most expensive house the bank says you qualify for, but by owning property that produces income while you sleep. Your home can become an asset one day, but it usually takes time. It takes years of principal payments. It takes appreciation. It takes discipline. It takes not overbuying. And it takes understanding the numbers before you fall in love with the kitchen. So, the next time someone tells you buying is always smarter than renting, ask one simple question. Have you ever seen an amortization schedule? Because the people who have really looked at one tend to make very different decisions than buy. They buy differently. They borrow differently. They compare renting differently. They understand that the bank gets paid first. They understand that equity builds slowly. They understand that homeownership is not just a dream. It is a financial structure. And if you do not understand the structure, you can mistake a liability for an investment. Your home can become an asset. It just takes longer than anyone told you. It costs more money than anyone showed you, and the bank profits more from it than most people ever imagined. Now, you know what it is actually. What you do with that is up to you.